Hello, everyone. Welcome to Daybreak Stories, a sub-series of Daybreak dedicated to telling what happens behind the scenes and on set of the talk show. So let's get started. This is episode 9, I think. I'm never going to remember what these episodes are called. Um, Actually, I can check, though. I recently made the Daybreak logs so I can keep up to date on what I'm doing. Uh, Episode 9. Oh yeah, this is I Need a Break and Reinventing. I just forgot the name of it. So this is referencing. Okay, so I definitely know what I'm talking about. This is referencing episode 4 of season 4. Now, episode 4 of season 4 was quite interesting. It was not one of my favorite episodes. It wasn't even it wasn't the guest's fault. The guest that we had, so this was July 26th, and the guest that we had, the first guest was Sam Larrick, and he did a game review. Now this is interesting because this was actually supposed to take place earlier. Um, we had Riley. Well, we actually had him planned with Riley Crovinger, and we were gonna do like a review episode. It was the middle of quarantine, so it could be a break from the interviews, and it could be more of just like a what to watch, what to play, how to not be bored, and things. So we were going to do an entire episode dedicated to just like what to watch and what to play. So we had Riley Crovinger come on to talk about different TV shows. We talked about New Girl, The Office, Parks and Rec, Upload, Community. Um, there may be more, but I'm forgetting. It was a long time ago. And what was supposed to happen was for the first 20 minutes, Riley Crovinger would come on and talk about TV shows, and then Sam would come on and talk about board games and like what to play and what would you do during all of this, because COVID was still quite affecting everyone at the time. It was still on lockdown here in Massachusetts, at least. Um, because taking a look at when this was filmed, this was July 26th, so about a month prior, school ended, and the entirety of school it was practically locked down. Now, I'm trying, if you're wondering why I'm looking down, I am trying to find where Riley's episode was because, all right, we had all the way, that's her first appearance in season 1. Then, oh, here it is, May 24th. Yeah, so this was in the middle of quarantine. Actually, fun fact, 2 days after my brother's birthday. Shout out to him. And Owen came on a number of times too. He came on the premiere episode. Oh, the premiere episode of season 2. He came on episode 1 of season 1, again with Riley Crovinger. He came on in apparently not in season 3, but he did come on in season 4 with Sam Larrick, we're talking about. And I'm not sure. I don't think he came on in season 5. No, he didn't. But what we're going to talk about, not going over the entire history of Daybreak, is July 26th. So, like I was saying, we were trying to do a joint. It was a change of the norm in a time where the norms have seriously been changed. So he was going to come on to talk about games, and Riley's going to talk about TV shows. And when Riley's episode came around on May 24th, this was episode 3 of season 2, we had planned for him to come on. Unfortunately, when we started filming the show, he wasn't there. So Riley got to the end of her 20-minute interview, and I was checking the guest logs because I didn't see his profile come on. So a little backstory on how Daybreak works. So one of the points of Daybreak Stories is to explain what Daybreak, how it functions, what's the goal, and all this stuff. So let's look at behind the scenes of Daybreak. I think on this trailer or the intro for Daybreak Stories is what happens behind the scenes. But behind the scenes of Daybreak, there are a number of things that happen. But in terms of the way the show kicks off, there is a procedure. What's supposed to happen, and I'm trying to remember back to the way I used to do it before I changed it in season when what we're talking about during the break when I changed it. But before then, what happened was both guests this is always constant. Both guests needed to be present on the live the second I start the live, because if the first guest isn't there on time, the second guest needs to stand in. And by the time that second guest is done, the guest, if they miss it, they have to be there for their segment. So what happened is Riley was there. Ben wasn't, not Ben. Yeah, no, Sam wasn't. Sorry. And he wasn't first. He was going to go second. So it was like, okay, well, he's not here, but maybe he will get here eventually. So we film Riley's episode. It goes really well. The way it worked, it was like a baseline series of questions, and it was just like, what are the main characters? Does the story evolve? Is it like The Office, where a new thing happens every episode, or is it like a show called Departure on Peacock now, which is a fantastic show, where it's evolving and you have to watch the first one to understand what's happening in the second one. You have to watch the second one to understand what's happening in the third one, stuff like that. So there's the baseline questions like that. And so we got done with 20 minutes. We'd only gotten through like half of the things we we're trying to get to. And I told her, I don't know if this came out on the video, but I told her to wait and don't go yet because Sam wasn't there. Not Sam. Yeah, Sam.
Unless Sam has joined, we actually have no time.
Okay.
Sam, if you've joined, since I have comments off, I don't know if you've joined. So can you just send me a question if you're on? Anyways.
Sam wasn't there. And it was confusing because we talked about this for a while. And I was sort of counting on him coming on the show, and he didn't show up. So the reality of it was he overslept his alarm, which I do all the time, unfortunately. But yeah, he overslept his alarm, so he missed the 10 a.m. filming of it, which is changing, by the way. More about that later. I'm probably going to do another update video. Probably, I don't know, the fourth in the past 2 months. But a lot of stuff is changing with Daybreak, so it's important. Anyways, back onto the story here. So we moved him, and we kept trying to find a place for him, and we kept moving it back and back and back, and I kept accidentally forgetting to put him in a slot. And eventually I landed on the last episode of the last season of what I thought was going to be the last season. Now, I've talked about this a lot. I think I mentioned it on Riley's the host interviews. Sorry, my SpaceX merch. But I talked about on Riley's interview, the host interview, saying I didn't think we'd get this far. This is way farther than I thought. The fact that it's lasted this long with the amount of support it has garnered and the continued support it has is mind-blowing to me. Like, I didn't expect anyone to really care about this. And actually, that's still the same mentality I have now. I still think that after all this work is done with renovating Daybreak, I'm not going to have anyone to deal with. In reality, I don't think that's true, but I'm highly doubtful because it's in the middle of summer. People don't really follow the COVID guidelines as they should, and they'll be leaving for vacation when they shouldn't, but whatever. But it's always in the back of my mind, like, I'm surprised that we got this far. And in season 4, I had a hard time finding guests. Half of the guests here were old guests, and half of them were new. That is not a good formula. That has never happened before. In season 1, it was all new guests, of course. Season 2, we had 5 out of the 7. No, sorry. Actually, in season 2, there are more old guests than new guests, but the show is new. By season 4, we should have gone our act together, but we had half and half old and new guests. We had Ben Gaynor, Grace Maroney, Riley Kravinger, and Owen Sadowski. The new guests were myself, but I don't know if you'd call me a new guest. I'm there every day. So if you want to actually call them new guests, we had 3: Sam, Cora Thompson, and Thomas O'Toole. All great interviews. But it was not a great formula for the season. And because I had to put in people that I already had on the show a number of times, I was getting concerned. The original rules, I think I talked about this. There's an episode of Daybreak Stories, New Rules, I think it's called. I don't know. It might be episode 3 or 2. I'm not exactly sure. I should know. Hold on, I can check actually, because I have it in front of me. Episode 3. It's 18 minutes long if you want to look at it. But I just talked about the rules of Daybreak. And the original rule was that no guest is allowed to come on the show in consecutive seasons. So, for example, Grace Maroney came on in season 1. By the original rules, she wouldn't be allowed to come on in season 2. She'd have to wait until season 3. But I ignored that rule because guests were hard to come by. Grace Maroney, I think, has come on the show the most. She was episode 1 of season 1. In season 2, she was episode 2. I see a trend here. In season 3, I think this might be the one where she didn't come on. Yeah. In season 4, she was episode 1. Moving to season 5, she actually came on twice. She was in episode 4 and episode 8. Which actually, if you were to cut the season in half, they'd both be the finales. The reason for that's a different story, actually. I won't go there. That'll be a story for another day. But yeah, she came on by accident on episode 4 of season 5. But I have made a note that she, not on her personality, just based on I'm trying to reestablish my rules. She is not allowed in Daybreak 2021. She will be allowed in Daybreak 2022, but not for this season, just because I've had her on so many times. Twice in a season, which is ridiculous. She's a great guest, but it's a bit repetitive. But anyways, that was the rule. And trying to find guests was hard, so I had to break the rule. So with this new rule being broken, I was like, this has got to be the end. There's no way that we can continue like this. It's just not feasible. And I came up with this plan to cut off for a month of Daybreak during the month of August. And in this month, renovate it, build up momentum and hype, do like lives that explain what's happening, what we're doing. And what I was trying to do was get people excited for Daybreak. What did I call it? Second edition. And that's what the logo is now. So I'll put it on the screen actually. So this is what the original logo for Daybreak looked like. It was very simple. It was on a lot of cards we had. It's actually the logo on the YouTube channel and on my email actually. And by rebranding it, we changed it to this logo, and this is the more well-known logo. So yeah, that's what it looks like. So that's what the rebranding was. It was an attempt to regain a footing. And it worked. Because then we had the longest season we've ever had. It was 10 episodes long. September 6th, Hannah Hulett, Hunter Richards. September 13th, Ciesha Athuluri, Catherine Mahoney. September 20th, Bianca Anderson, TJ Bonica. September 27th, Grace Maroney, Maeve Ross. October 4th, Ben Ashworth, Alexander Versaw. October 11th, Caroline Scalzulli, Alexander Versaw. There was a double there for a reason. That was not intentional. I mean, it wasn't, whatever. That's a story for another day. October 18th, Layla Bailey. October 25th, Faith Gagnon, Grace Maroney, Riley Kravinger. And that was the whole season. So the longest season we had. And what was the statistics on that season? It was majority new guests. 8 out of 14. It's not great, but we're still trying to regain that majority new guests. Hannah was a new guest. Hunter was a new guest. Ciesha, Catherine, Maeve Ross, Ben Ashworth, Alexander Versaw. Yeah. I'm missing one, but whatever. We had a lot of new guests that season, which was fantastic to see. If we would have cut it off after 4 episodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'd been 5 out of 8, which is great. Still not as much new as I would like, but still enough to make it worth watching. And a sneak peek into this season, and I've already started planning. We have got 8 out of 20 are old, 7 out of 20 are new. And we have a bunch left to try and fill in. But there are a list of people who are not allowed in this season just because they've appeared so much. Owen Sadowski, Riley Kravinger, Ben Gaynor, Grace Maroney, and Connor Long. Those people are not allowed on this season just because they've been on the show a lot, and it's kind of unfair to everyone else. I have made one exception. That's TJ Bonica. He is pretty much my all-time favorite guest. I think Riley and TJ are my favorite guests on the show, but Riley is taking a part in this season. She's having her own episode, and that's August 1st, as we see it right now, episode 5. So she's in the season, but I'm not interviewing her. That's what's happening. Anyways, but that entire month of August was just trying to build hype for season 5, aka Daybreak 2nd Edition. And it worked because we got new guests. Now, the complicated thing that I was starting to realize with that season was school was happening during that season. It was October, so you were in school. And people, if you're in school, you're not going to spend your 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning on a talk show. You want to spend it asleep, like I want to do all the time. And so we ran into another problem, which was finding guests. Now, I don't know, actually I can check again. I don't know if this is going to be a future Daybreak Stories. If it is, I'll just cancel it and talk about it right now. Parting is such sweet sorrow. It is, I'm not going to cancel it. I'll keep that one. Yeah. So I'll keep that one. I'll talk about the actual end of Daybreak 2020 and in a future Daybreak Stories. But in terms of this month of break, we redid everything. If you take a look at the way it was, the camera was like here, and it was not looking great. When I redid the studio, I got lighting, I got sound, like there was a whole list of things. I spent money on a lot of things to make it work. Um, we got the stool, we got the backdrop. Yeah, a lot of things changed. And it was a I love that was a great season of Daybreak. And it was because of that month. So that month had benefits that were not intended. And they were, but they also weren't. But I will say, working out how to, there were so many ideas that went into that. Like, there was one idea where there'd be a curtain, and I'd walk onto the stage, and the camera would drop in front of me. Not the camera, the curtain would drop, and you just see me standing there, and I'd introduce the show. There'd be a lot. There was so many other ideas that never made it to fruition, but it was a really fun experience to get to plan all this stuff out, even if it didn't come to fruition. It was still a great experience. And so that break in Daybreak was for a reason, but the consequences, it has a negative connotation, but whatever. Let's just go with the results. The results of taking that month off was very beneficial for the show, and it helped a lot with a lot of things. But there were still problems, and we've got more Daybreak Stories in the future that cover these problems. We have, so right now on Daybreak Stories, this is episode 9. Next one is No Guests. That's referencing the Grace Maroney coming on in episode 4. Then you have Remember to Charge, the episode directly after. Oh my god. And then we have Parting in Such Sweet Sorrow. So there's a lot of stuff here. But the next couple Daybreak Stories is about all the problems that happened in season 5. But it's like the news here. The news only puts up the tragedies, really. I mean, there are some good stories, but it's usually the tragedies, like car pileup on Route 3, fire in this house that killed this amount of people. They always publish the sad things. And if you'd only watch the news, you'd think the world was a terrible place. Nothing ever good happened in it. But the reality is so much good happens in the world that doesn't make it to light. And it's similar to this. I'm publishing the mistakes that happened with Daybreak. I'm putting out there the problems that we had, the issues we encountered. But just because those are the things that are on here doesn't mean that those are the only things that happened. So many amazing moments happened because of Daybreak. Even the mistakes led to amazing things. When I didn't have any questions for TJ Bonnick, I had to improvise, and it created this whole new way of me interviewing, which was really good for the show. The first episode of the show was amazing. Episode 2 was a bit of a disaster, but it taught a lot of things, and it was better for the future. Abigail Keefe, just constantly great interviews. She's a great guest. She's always happy, energetic. Faith Gagnon, great interviews always. Grace Maroney, I would say, aside from the last interview we had with her, everything else had been amazing. Alexander Duvall, the first adult we had on the show. I think, yeah, and the first out-of-state guest. Amazing interview. It was a full 40 minutes. Bianca Anderson learned how to deal with Wi-Fi issues. That was very beneficial, but it was a great interview. We had her on again. It was so good. We had multiple out-of-state guests. Riley Krivinger, constantly an incredible guest to have on the show. TJ Bonica every time is just amazing. New games were invented, new avenues, new topics. Like, there have been so many. I'm holding the history of Daybreak in my hands. There have been so many amazing moments with Daybreak that deserve to, I mean, I am the one to put them out there. They deserve to be given life. And yeah, the next couple episodes of Daybreak Stories, episode 10 and 11, are highlighting the problems of season 5. But episode 12, Parting is Such Sweet Sorrow, that episode is going to be a bittersweet episode. Daybreak Stories is going to be a happy episode. The Bossy Proposition, definitely a happy episode. And the Zoom, bit annoying, but going to be a good episode overall. Yeah, everything with Daybreak has been quite an interesting journey, but it's always been incredible regardless of the situation. And such is the case with Sam Larrick's episode, the last episode of Daybreak First Edition. The funny thing is that, I think I mentioned this, YouTube has now created a time capsule. Every single week, starting on April 12th, all the way through now, it is a time capsule. You get to go back. You get to watch everything that's happened. You get to look at how people have changed, especially how when we've had people who've come on multiple times, you see how their character has evolved over time. You can go look back. You can't actually, but let's just talk about episode 2 then. You can go look at Connor Long in episode 2 or Owen Komisky in episode 2. And then you can go look at them both. Actually, they came on. I don't know if they came on together again. Oh, they did. And you can go look at them in season 3 on June 14th and see how they evolved. You can go look at Abigail Keefe when she came on May 3rd and then came back on June 28th. You can go look at Grace Maroney over time, Riley Krovinger over time, me over time. You can watch all these people evolve and grow, their character changing, the way they talk changing, the way they look changing. Like, you can look at all of this stuff week by week by week. That is very special and something that Daybreak and YouTube has really been amazing. It's truly been absolutely amazing. I feel like I've said amazing every 3 seconds, but it's been truly incredible every step of the way. And Sam Larrick's episode was a vitally important episode. Regardless of the quality of the interview or the guest or the questions or the actual show itself, the things that happened because of that episode were beneficial in the long run. And such is the case with every single episode where something's gone wrong. Sorry, I wrote an essay for school, and I said, such is the case with the Industrial Revolution. I was talking about something else. And so now every time I say such is the case with, it reminds me of that. But anyways, it's been quite interesting. And I didn't mean to turn this Daybreak Stories into like I'm very thankful, but whatever. I'm in that mood. So yeah, thank you to everyone who's worked on the show, who's come on the show, who watches these. And yeah, I will catch you all next time at Daybreak Stories. Bye.